In the Chinese-speaking community, the current hottest anime is Sword of Coming. Today, Xian will walk everyone through what Sword of Coming is actually about, to help you get into it quickly. The Orphan of Clayvis Alley, a speck of dust in Liju Heavenly Grotto, one of the 36 minor heavenly grottos in the Hauran world, is where Champion's life began in a ramshackle hut on Clayvis Alley in Longguang Town. This grotto, a land blessed with the spiritual essence of heaven and earth, was also a treasure trove of kismet coveted by all forces. Every family, every child in the town, might hold a heaven-bestowed blessing and destiny, everyone except Champion. He was 5 on that New Year's Eve. While fireworks blazed across the sky and lanterns lit up every home, he knelt by his gravely ill mother's bed, brewing her the only bowl of medicinal broth he could make and frying a simple plate of greens. She stroked his head and whispered, "My little Ping'an, may you have peace every year." It was the last warmth his mother left him, a vow he would cling to for the rest of his life. That night, she passed away. His father followed soon after. At 5, Champion became the most insignificant orphan in Clayvis Alley. His natal porcelain had been smashed in infancy. In Liju Heavenly Grotto, natal porcelain symbolized the child's spiritual root, tying their cultivation kismet and life fortune to the Tao. A broken piece meant he would never walk the path of cultivation, destined to be a mortal nobody, even labeled a disaster star by the heavenly Tao. Most townsfolk shunned him. Contempt, bullying, and hunger defined his childhood. In the bitter winter, he gnawed on bark and dug up wild grass to stave off starvation, once fainting at the gate of Gukan's house. To survive, he hunted in the mountains, fished in the rivers, and picked medicinal herbs to trade for food. He wore out pair after pair of straw sandals, his hands calloused thicker than any adult's. Yet kindness still lingered in the mortal world. And Gukan's mother, had a soft heart. She often slipped him a warm meal, shielded his dignity, and kept him from starving to death. Lu Ziyin became his first brother, an unlikely friendship forged from a fight. They worked side by side in the dragon kiln, dreaming of a future where they could eat their fill and live with pride. Lu Ziyin aspired to be the greatest porcelain maker in the world, firing pieces worthy of an emperor's collection. Gukan dreamed of earning a fortune to give his mother a life free from bullying. And Champion? He only wanted to survive, to guard the ramshackle hut his mother left behind, to hold onto that tiny sliver of mortal warmth. But fate's cruelty never relented. Song Jisin, jealous of Champion's perseverance and coveting his meager kismet, tricked him. He said guarding the ancestral home would trap his parents' souls, barring them from reincarnation. Consumed by guilt, Champion broke his promise to his mother and left the hut to become an apprentice at the dragon kiln. He kneaded clay, stoked the kiln fires, and did the hardest, most backbreaking work, all for a mouthful of food. It was not until Old Man Yao exposed the lie that Champion realized he had been fooled. In a torrential downpour, he grabbed Song Jisin by the neck, yet he never struck the killing blow. He had never forgotten his mother's teachings: be kind, abide by the rules, never do wrong. At 14, a palm strike from Kai Jingjian shattered his bridge of longevity completely. The bridge of longevity is the foundation of cultivation. Its destruction meant he could never become a chief practitioner. His lifespan would be shortened by decades, and even mere survival would be a struggle. In that moment, everyone thought the orphan of Clayvis Alley would fade into the dust, his story over. But clutching the manual of mountain-shaking Gukan had given him, he told himself on the brink of death, "As long as I breathe, I will not give up." He tempered his body in the frigid waters beneath a waterfall, practiced boxing until his hands and feet festered in the cold, until he collapsed from dehydration in the scorching summer. While others cultivated immortality with talent and kismet, he fought with his life, forging a path on the scorned road of the martial artist with unyielding perseverance alone. By then, undercurrents ruled in Liju Heavenly Grotto. Qi Jingchan, a disciple of the literary sage, stood guard over the town, protecting its kismet and watching this ill-fated boy in silence. He saw Champion cling to his original heart in despair, keep his kindness in suffering. He saw him rescue injured small animals and help strangers, even when his own life hung in the balance. Qi Jinshan knew this boy with his broken natal porcelain and shattered bridge of longevity held the rarest pure heart in the world, a will strong enough to bear the great Dao. So when the grotto crumbled and the heavenly Dao struck back, Qi Jinshan gave Champion the literary sage's jade hairpin, accepting him as a disciple on his master's behalf, the closed-door disciple of the literary sage's lineage. This encounter changed Champion's fate forever. From that day on, the orphan of Clay Vase Alley stepped onto a magnificent path of cultivation and shouldered a heavy burden of morality and duty. Volume 1, A Youth's Journey, Guarding the Dao for 10,000 Li, First Taste of the World's Turmoil. As Liju Heavenly Grotto crumbled and the Heavenly Dao retaliated, the townsfolk scattered to the four winds. Entrusted by Qi Jinshan, Champion took on the task of escorting Li Baoping, Lin Shuyi, Li Huai and other children to the Cliff Academy in the Great Sui dynasty to study. It was not only a promise to the literary sage's lineage, but his first step out of the town, into the real world, into its vastness and its peril. The southbound journey was fraught with danger, pursued by the iron cavalry of the Great Li dynasty, covert assassinations by ghosts and spirits of all kinds, and covetous stares from unscrupulous cultivators, hungry for the kismet the children held. A mere third-realm martial artist, Champion bore the weight of protecting them all alone. He traveled by day, practiced boxing by night, never pausing in his cultivation of the manual of mountain shaking, no matter the storm, no matter the mortal peril. Cui Chen, grandfather of the literary sage's disciple Cui Chang and a reclusive martial artist grandmaster, recognized Champion's perseverance and subjected him to a near-brutal training of 1,000,000 punches. Blow by blow, he tempered his body and honed his will, lifting him from the strongest third-realm martial artist to break through realms step by step, laying an unshakable foundation for his martial Dao. The journey was a whirlwind of adventure and peril. They strayed into the netherly elegant abode, where they faced the red-clothed ghost Madame Chu, who hated scholars with a passion. Gu Tao, a yin god, fought with all his strength to hold her back. Champion slung the blind old Taoist over his shoulder, leading the children to break through her ghostly illusions with talismans, escaping by the skin of their teeth. They witnessed Wei Jin's feat of cleaving the heavens with a single sword, a blade of light spanning sky and earth that shook Champion to his core, strengthening his resolve to forge the sword and guard the Dao. He met a young, son of the sub-saint, a free-spirited sword cultivator with a heart for the world. Alian's guidance deepened his understanding of both the sword Dao and the Dao of reason. Champion never forgot his other mission, tied to Ning Yao, to deliver an immortal sword, forged exclusively for her by the military sage Wang Qiong, to the Sword Qi Great Wall, far across the world. Ning Yao was the light in his heart, the girl he had silently guarded back in Clay Vase Alley. Though separated by 10,000 li, their hearts were one. To keep this promise, Champion never gave up even when his own life was at stake. He knew Ning Yao fought the monster clan at the Sword Qi Great Wall, her life hanging in the balance. He had to grow stronger, reach her side as soon as he could, and stand with her in battle. On the journey, Champion's Dao of reason began to shape those around him. He never bullied the weak with his strength, never curried favor with the powerful. He stepped forward in the face of injustice, lent a hand to the vulnerable. He told Li Baoping and the others that studying was not for fame and fortune, but to understand reason and hold fast to one's original heart. Cultivation was not for conquering the world, but to guard the Dao and protect the innocent. Every word, every deed, he lived by the literary sage's teaching: act when you ought to, abstain when you ought not. And he taught these innocent children the weight of two words: morality and justice. After countless hardships, Champion finally escorted the children safely to the Cliff Academy in the Great Sui dynasty. In the imperial capital, he endured numerous trials by the old literary sage. The old sage recognized his character and integrity, but did not accept him as a disciple at once. Instead, he observed his conduct through every trial. In the face of provocation from the mountain-moving ape of Jinyang Mountain, he remained unyielding, upholding his bottom line. In the face of enticement from nobles and lords, he stayed true to his heart, unmoved. In the face of mortal danger, he sacrificed himself to save others, honoring his moral duty. In the end, Chen Ping'an passed every test, and formally bowed to the old literary sage, becoming his closed-door disciple. The old sage taught him the Confucian classics, instructing him, uphold benevolence as your foundation, establish yourself with ritual, act with righteousness. He made Chen Ping'an understand that the true essence of cultivation was never the pursuit of ultimate power, but holding fast to one's original heart, and guarding the reason and warmth of the mortal world. At the Cliff Academy, Chen Ping'an received meticulous guidance from the sage Mao Shaodong. He cultivated the martial Dao while studying the Confucian classics, making tremendous progress in both his cultivation base and his mental state. He did not forget his mission. After bidding farewell to the academy, he set off again for the Sword Qi Great Wall, to keep the 10-year promise he had made to Ning Yao. I will reach the 7th realm of the martial artist, the Golden Body realm, in 10 years, he had vowed. And you, Ning Yao, will not fall in battle before I arrive. Volume 2, The Hard Trial at Book Sleep Lake, shattering his literary courage, cultivating the heart in despair. After leaving the Cliff Academy, Chen Ping'an learned the truth about Gu Kan, whom he regarded as his own younger brother. At Book Sleep Lake, Gu Kan had wielded the spiritual artifact charcoal snow, a gift from Chen Ping'an, to slaughter countless innocents, becoming a feared little devil. Book Sleep Lake was a lawless land, where the law of the jungle reigned supreme. To protect his mother and survive in the chaos, Gu Kan had killed without mercy, his hands soaked in blood, and he never thought he was wrong. This was the most arduous hard trial of Chen Ping'an's cultivation path, one of the core threads of Sword Kang. On one side was blood thicker than water, kinship and kindness. And Gu Kan were the only warmth of his childhood, the light that had kept him going in despair. On the other side was the morality and justice he had clung to all his life. Gu Kan's indiscriminate killing had violated the very bottom line of the mortal world. To indulge him would be an injustice to countless wandering souls, a betrayal of his own Dao heart. Chen Ping'an traveled to Book Sleep Lake, trying to reason with Gu Kan, to make him see his mistakes. But the reason of Book Sleep Lake was nothing like the Confucian morality he upheld. His words sounded feeble, empty, in this land of slaughter. Gu Kan thought he was merely surviving in a cruel world, killing only those who deserved to die. He had done nothing wrong. And Gu defended her son, thinking Chen Ping'an was being unreasonably harsh. For a time, Chen Ping'an was trapped in an impossible dilemma. His Confucian literary courage, the core of his moral conviction, teetered on the brink of collapse, caught in the collision of human nature and unyielding morality. He had thought of killing Gu Kan, to uphold justice. But he could never bring himself to do it. He could not forget Aunt Gu's warm meals, Gu Kan's childhood companionship, the days they had depended on each other in Clay Vase Alley. He had also thought of indulging Gu Kan, of looking the other way. But that would turn the reason he had clung to for more than a decade into a joke, and his Dao heart would shatter completely. After countless days and nights of agonizing struggle, Chen Ping'an made a shocking decision. He shattered his own literary courage. To shatter his literary courage was to acknowledge the limits of his own beliefs, to break free from the narrow yoke of pure Confucian morality, and turn from clinging to reason to cultivating the heart. It was to let go of his obsessions, and seek a path that balanced kinship and universal justice. He no longer judged the right and wrong of Book Sleep Lake by rigid Confucian standards, but wove together the thoughts of Taoism's inaction, Buddhism's compassion, Moism's universal love, and legalism's establishing rules, forging his own path of unity of knowledge and action. After shattering his literary courage, Chen Ping'an became the accountant of Book Sleep Lake. He cut off the bond of kindness with Gu and Gu Kan, yet he bore Gu Kan's sins himself. He compiled a list of every soul Gu Kan had killed, their names, their hometowns, their unfulfilled wishes. He transcended the wrong spirits, and strove to fulfill the dead's last hopes. He implemented new rules at Book Sleep Lake, curbing slaughter and establishing order, bringing a sliver of mortal warmth to this lawless land. He took in homeless orphans, teaching them to understand reason and abide by rules so they would never walk the same dark path as Gu Kan. He did this for 4 years. For 4 years, Chen Ping'an traveled every inch of Book Sleep Lake, settling countless grudges and resolving endless disputes. He saw the ugliest depths of human nature, and also its brightest glimmers. He endured countless curses and doubts, and also gained endless gratitude and respect. He was no longer the boy who only knew how to speak of reason. He had become a cultivator who knew how to live it. A cultivator who could adapt, who held compassion in his heart, and never let go of his bottom line. He understood that reason was not an unchanging dogma, but must be people-oriented, balancing human feelings and universal justice. He understood that cultivation was not to become a lofty, distant sage, but to hold fast to one's original heart in the messy, ordinary mortal world to redeem others, and to redeem oneself. The 4 years at Book Sleep Lake were 4 years of transformation for Chen Ping'an's dull heart. He went from a boy who spoke of reason to a man who practiced reason, from someone who only knew how to hold fast to himself, to someone who knew how to bear responsibility for others. This hard trial had no standard answer, yet it made Chen Ping'an fully understand the true meaning of the Tao. The Tao lies in the mortal world, in one's original heart, in every choice, every act of perseverance. When he left Book Sleep Lake, his mental state was complete. His martial and qi cultivation basis had broken through quietly, laying a solid foundation for his journey to the Sword Qi Great Wall. Volume 3, The Sword Qi Great Wall, the last hidden official, guarding the world with flesh and blood. After leaving Book Sleep Lake, Chen Ping'an braved countless hardships and finally reached the Sword Qi Great Wall. The Great Wall was the first line of defense for the Hauran world against the monster clan of the desolate world, a sacred land for human sword cultivators. Countless sword cultivators shed their blood and lives here, fighting to the death against the monsters, to protect the billions of living beings in the Hauran world. By then, the Sword Qi Great Wall was already engulfed in war. Under Zhou Mi's devious scheming, the desolate world mustered the strength of half a world, leading the 14 From monsters to launch a full-scale attack on the Great Wall. On the battlements, sword cultivators fought bloody battles. Chen Qingdu, the Grand Sword Immortal, stood guard at the top of the wall, single-handedly resisting the monster hordes, yet he was ultimately alone, and the Great Wall teetered on the brink of collapse. Chen Ping'an and Ning Yu reunited. They bared their hearts to each other, and made a life and death pact. Ning Yao, a sword cultivation genius with a naturally clear sword heart, was the hope of the Sword Qi Great Wall. She had fought bloody battles on the battlefield for years, her body covered in scars, yet she never retreated. Looking at the girl he loved, Chen Ping'an made an oath in his heart: I will protect you for the rest of my life. I will stand with you, to guard the Sword Qi Great Wall, to defend the Hauran world. To grow stronger quickly, under the guidance of Grand Sword Immortal Chen Qingdu, Chen Ping'an entered the Lotus Flower blessed land to recast his bridge of longevity. He sparred with Zhongqiu and his disciples, comprehending the true essence of the Feast of Mountain Shaking, condensing his heroic soul and finally repairing his shattered bridge of longevity. He formally stepped into the ranks of Qi practitioners. He refined a fire natal artifact, completing the 5 elements of his natal artifacts. With Chen Qingdu's help, he nurtured 2 natal flying swords, Bird in a Cage and Moon in a Well. Bird in a Cage excelled at trapping enemies, weaving a cage of sword intent to bind even the strongest foes. Moon in a Well specialized in attack and conquest, its sword light like the cold moon, cutting through all illusions with immense power. From that moment on, Chen Ping was truly a sword cultivator duo, cultivating the martial Dao and the sword Dao, his strength advancing by leaps and bounds. The desolate world's full-scale attack came as scheduled. Before the battle lines, Li Zhen, a monster genius, the reincarnation of part of Guang Zhao's soul, provoked them, vowing to kill Ning Yao. Chen Ping stepped forward, taking her place to lead the fight. With the body of a martial artist, and the cooperation of his native flying swords, he fought a life-and-death battle with Li Zhen. In the end, he killed Li Zhen, but the effort exhausted his cultivation base, sending him plummeting to the second realm of qi cultivation. But he did not retreat. Even with his power all but gone, he still stood on the battlements, fighting alongside the sword cultivators to resist the monster attack. At the height of the battle, a catastrophe struck. Xian, the hidden official of the Sword Qi Great Wall, suddenly defected. He seriously injured the sword immortal Sui Yu, and fled to the desolate world. The hidden official was the core of the Great Wall, responsible for coordinating intelligence, dispatching sword immortals, formulating battle tactics. Xian's betrayal left the Great Wall leaderless, on the verge of collapse. Countless sword cultivators fell into despair. At that moment, Chen Qingdu overrode all objections and appointed Chen Ping as the new hidden official. It was the most controversial appointment in the Great Wall's history. Chen Ping was an outsider from a small town in the Han world, not a native sword cultivator. His cultivation base was low, and he had no foundation at the Great Wall. Countless sword cultivators questioned him, thinking an outsider could never understand the seclusion and duty of the hidden official, could never bear the life-and-death trust of thousands of sword cultivators. But Chen Qingdu knew this boy. He possessed extraordinary wisdom, unbreakable perseverance, and a profound sense of responsibility. He was the only one who could guard the Sword Qi Great Wall in despair. Chen Ping accepted the appointment in the face of certain peril, becoming the last hidden official of the Sword Qi Great Wall. What he took over was a complete mess. The intelligence network had been completely destroyed by Xian. The sword cultivators were split into warring factions, their hearts scattered. The monster army pressed down on the border, the defense line on the verge of breaking. But he did not retreat. He made the summer resort his official residence, formed a new hidden official team, and built a brand new, absolutely confidential intelligence system from scratch. He comforted the sword cultivators, mediated factional conflicts, and told them all, "We do not guard just a wall. We guard the billions of living beings behind us. We guard our home." He formulated meticulous battle tactics, dispatching the sword immortals' power with precision, exchanging the smallest cost for the greatest victory. As the hidden official, Chen Ping did not just strategize from the rear, he led the charge. He personally fought on the frontline battlements, slaying monsters in bloody hand-to-hand combat. He played a deadly game of intelligence and counterintelligence with the monster clan in the dark, foiling their plots time and again. He bore immense pressure and endless doubts, yet he always clung to his original heart, impartial, fair, rewarding virtue and punishing vice without mercy. To buy the Sword Qi Great Wall a precious breathing space, Chen Ping made an astonishing decision. He let Nian Xian, the seamstress, embroider the real names of the desolate world's great monsters into his body with a needle. He took his spine as a scroll, his skin as paper, his blood as ink. He endured thousands of curses and unspeakable suffering with his physical body. Relying on the suppression of the great monsters' real names, he gained a deadly special attack on the monster clan, forcibly delaying their full-scale attack for 3 years. Those 3 years were the darkest for the Sword Qi Great Wall, the most painful for Chen Ping. His body was eroded by curses, his soul tormented by unending pain, yet he gritted his teeth and persisted, never wavering for a single moment. In those 3 years, with precise calculation and masterful dispatch, Chen Ping saved more than 20,000 seeds of the Sword Qi Great Wall, winning precious preparation time for the Han world. His martial cultivation base broke through to the 8th realm, the Ascension realm, tempered in this life and death struggle, his Qi cultivation base improved steadily. But the kismet of the Sword Qi Great Wall was ultimately on the verge of collapse. Chen Qingdu fell in battle. The Great Wall was split in two by a single sword strike from the monster ancestor. Half became Ascension City, moving to the five-colored world. The other half was reduced to a desolate, desperate wasteland. At the moment the Great Wall split, Chen Ping'an made an unprecedented decision. He merged his Dao with the half of the Sword Qi Great Wall. He bound his soul, his kismet, his very life to the broken wall. If the wall stands, I stand. If the wall falls, I fall. After merging with the Dao, he stepped into the false Jade Pu realm, gaining an immortal, indestructible body. Single-handedly, he guarded the broken half of the Great Wall, facing the siege of the desolate worlds 10 from monsters and the monster ancestor alone. He guarded it for 10 years. For 10 years, Chen Ping'an stood alone on the broken battlements, fighting endless battles with the monster clan. He formed and shattered his golden elixir countless times, tempering his body and sword intent in a near self-destructive way so the From monsters could never tell if he was a fake nascent soul or a fake Jade Pu. He relied on the formation power of the broken Great Wall to resist the monster attacks, making the desolate world unable to break through this final line of defense. He watched the sword cultivators around him fall one by one, watched the Great Wall crumble into ruins, and his obsession grew stronger. As long as I breathe, the Sword Qi Great Wall will not fall. The defense line of the Haoren world will not break. 10 years of unyielding perseverance transformed Chen Ping'an. From a bull with a low cultivation base, he became the spiritual pillar of the Sword Qi Great Wall, revered as the last hidden official of the Sword Qi Great Wall. He completed a profound transformation of his character, from fighting for himself and his loved ones, to guarding the land for the whole world. His Dao heart, tempered in blood and fire, reached an unprecedented state of perfection. With his flesh and his will, he interpreted the true meaning of a great hero defends his country and his people. And he let the whole world know, the orphan of clay vase alley had become the backbone that guarded the world. Volume 4, The Haoren Defense War, The Confucian Temple Council, cleaving Moon holding mountain with a sword. The Haoren Defense War erupted. The monster army of the desolate world pressed down on the Haoren world, countless continents falling, living beings slaughtered. Cui Chang used the divine art of reversing mountains and rivers to pull Chen Ping'an out of the broken half of the Sword Qi Great Wall. By then, Chen Ping'an had reached the 10th realm of the martial artist, the return to the true realm. His Qi cultivation base had also reached an extremely high level. But as soon as he left the Great Wall, he learned the news. Ningyo had ascended to the heavens to protect the five-colored world. They were separated again, their lives hanging in the balance. Before his death, Cui Chang had set up 3 true and false dreams to guard Chen Ping'an on his Dao path. Chen Ping'an slept for 3 years in the creation grotto. When he woke up, his Qi cultivation base soared to the 11th realm, the Jade Pu realm, in one fell swoop. He walked out of the grotto just as the Confucian Temple Council began. The Haoren world and the desolate world negotiated a truce. Fei Ran, the representative of the desolate world, was arrogant and overbearing, proposing harsh conditions to nibble away at the Haoren world. Countless Haoren cultivators dared to be angry, but not to speak. At that moment, Chen Ping'an took a step forward, and his clear voice rang out, "Then we fight." As his voice fell, every cultivator in the Haoren world took a step forward. Their shouts shook heaven and earth. This step was Chen Ping'an's sense of responsibility and the backbone of the Haoren world. Better to be broken than to bow one's head. Even if they fought to the last man, they would never surrender to the monster clan. After the Confucian Temple Council, Chen Ping'an decided to repay the desolate world in kind, to clear the way with his sword, to deter the monster clan once and for all. He borrowed the 14-realm Dao art of Lu Chen, held the old sword strip, and traveled to the heart of the desolate world to challenge Moon Holding Mountain with his sword. Moon Holding Mountain was the sacred land of the desolate world, refined into a natal artifact by the great ancestor of the desolate world. It had never been broken in 10,000 years, a spiritual symbol of the monster clan. Champion's face remained calm. He closed two fingers and drew a golden ray of light. The old sword strip appeared out of thin air, revealing a towering, divine Dharma form. With a single sword, he cleaved open the river of time of Moon-holding Mountain. His sword light blazed like a rainbow, killing all monsters below the 12th realm instantly. He struck 3,000 swords in succession, cleaving Moon-holding Mountain 3,000 times, killing Yuanxiong, a great monster at the peak of the 13th realm, 3,000 times. With the sword intent of the spring breeze follows me, and together we roar like a lion. He shattered the monster's will, shaking the entire desolate world to its core. In this battle, Champion single-handedly broke the myth that Moon-holding Mountain was invincible, winning a precious breathing space for the Howren world. But after the war, his realm fell again, back to the 9th realm, the Golden Elixir realm. To repair the kismet of the Howren world, Champion abandoned countless merits. He used his own cultivation base as a price to mend the kismet of the entire Tongya continent, his realm pushing back to the 10th realm, the nascent soul realm. He felt no regret. In his heart, the safety of the world's living beings was far more important than his own power. At 41, Champion entered the heart image world, and made peace with his childhood inner demon. He faced his childhood sufferings head-on, confronted his obsessions and regrets, and finally let go of the grievances in his heart. He achieved the complete perfection of his Dao heart. Later, his 9 talisman avatars merged into one. His chi cultivation base soared 2 realms in a row, reaching the 12th realm, the immortal realm. His martial Dao also broke through to the ultimate realm, the abundant chi state. He had truly stepped into the top ranks of the world. At 42, Champion challenged Jinyang Mountain with his sword, settling an old grudge that had lasted for years. Jinyang Mountain had long bullied the weak and provoked the literary sage's lineage, a cancer in the Howren world. Champion led the disciples of Luopa Mountain to challenge Jinyang Mountain ahead of time. They cut off its mountain root, broke its sword top formation. Pei Qian, a martial artist of the ultimate realm, Mi Yu, a sword cultivator of the Jade Pu realm, and others revealed their hidden strengths. Ning Yao, Wei Jin, and other powerful cultivators appeared to assist. They completely settled the sins of Jinyang Mountain, demonstrating the strength and morality of Luopa Mountain to the whole world. Subsequently, Champion joined forces with Jin Zhuzhong and others to slay Jiangshi's young god. He took office as the national teacher of the Great Li dynasty. Taking the seals of the old and new national teachers as a guide, he regarded the entire Great Li dynasty as a human body, the imperial court as a Dao field, completing an unprecedented Dao merger. His chi cultivation base officially stepped into the 13th realm, the Ascension realm. His martial Dao also reached the ultimate realm, the return to the true state. By then, Champion was a great power, capable of guarding an entire continent. But he knew the real test was still to come. The final battle with Zhongmi was imminent. Volume 5, The Final Battle, Slaying Zhongmi with a Sword, No More Strife in the Mortal World. Zhongmi was the mastermind behind the desolate world, the reincarnation of the Lord of the Old Heavenly Court. He possessed half of the divine nature of the One, and sought to recreate heaven and earth to establish a hegemonic order of the strong prey on the weak, regarding all mortal living beings as ants. He and Champion were two sides of the same coin. One represented hegemony and destruction, the other warmth and protection. Their duel was a collision of two great deities, the final choice of heaven and earth. The heavenly path was opened. Zhongmi led the supreme gods of the heavenly court down to the mortal world, seeking to unify the 5 worlds and destroy the mortal order. The 3 sect ancestors, the Dao ancestor, the supreme sage, and the Buddha, chose to dissipate their Dao. They lured Zhongmi down from the ascension platform in Liju Heavenly Grotto, and gathered their kismet again to besiege him. But Zhongmi's strength was formidable. Even the joint efforts of the 3 sect ancestors could not kill him, only seriously injure him. By then, Champion's divine nature was complete. Borrowing the faith of billions of mortal living beings, he unleashed the great divine art communication with heaven and earth. A golden beam of light shot up from the Haren world, another fell from the new heavenly court. The two beams collided, forcibly dragging Zhongmi's golden body off his throne and toward Wei's continent. The great curtain of the battle between heaven and man opened. The final battle was divided into 3 battlefields. The main battlefield was Wei's continent, where Champion and Zhongmi fought a life and death battle. The second battlefield was the desolate world, where Baizhe, the ritual sage, Jingjuzhong and other powerful cultivators held back the monster army. The third battlefield was the new heavenly court, where Wangxiu, the god of fire, returned to her throne to cut off Zhongmi's retreat. The sword-bearer from beyond the heaven's sword mother guided Champion's mortal soul into the old heavenly court, opening a second communication with heaven and earth. Holding the ultimate long sword transformed from sword mother, Champion recited the oath that shook heaven and earth. When the heavenly Dao collapses, I, Champion, have but one sword. It can move mountains, cut rivers, overturn seas, subdue demons, suppress devils, command gods, pluck stars, destroy cities, and open the heavens. He fought divine nature with mortal nature, mortal warmth with hegemonic order. Every sword carried the hope of the mortal world, every sword clung to his own morality and justice. Zhongmi laughed wildly, thinking Champion's perseverance was meaningless. Human nature is inherently greedy and selfish, he thought. The mortal order is inherently fragile. But Champion told him, I have seen the warmth of Clay Wei's alley, the perseverance of the Sword-Chi Great Wall, the backbone of the Haren world. The mortal world is not perfect, but it is worth guarding. Human nature has flaws, but there is always light. What you seek to destroy is what I have spent my whole life fighting to protect. Therefore, I must slay you. In the end, Champion merged his divine nature and mortal nature perfectly. He borrowed the power of the 3 sect ancestors' dissipated Dao, the faith of billions of mortal living beings, and the joint strength of sword cultivators, Confucian cultivators, Dao cultivators, and Buddhist cultivators. With a single sword, he shattered Zhongmi's golden body completely, smashing him and the chaotic vortex he had created. Zhongmi fell. The new heavenly court collapsed. The crisis of the 5 worlds was finally over. After this battle, Champion's Qi cultivation base was almost completely gone, falling from the Ascension realm to that of a great cultivator. But his martial cultivation base broke through to the 11th realm, the martial god realm, making him the new ancestor of the martial Dao. He did not covet the power of the heavenly court. He chose to return to the mortal world, to his roots. Luopa Mountain, Volume 6, Sect Master of Luopa Mountain, the mortal home, peace every year. Luopa Mountain was a sect Champion founded from scratch, based on a mountain he had bought in his early years. There were no rigid hierarchies, no harsh rules here. Only a heart that distinguished right from wrong, a commitment to guarding the morality and justice of the mortal world. It was Champion's home and the destination of countless like-minded people. The members of Luopa Mountain were all extraordinary people in the world, yet they were all drawn to Champion's backbone and character, following him wholeheartedly. Xian, his eldest disciple, a reincarnation of evil thoughts from the lotus flower-blessed land, turned to good under Champion's teachings, becoming a martial artist of the ultimate realm, Luopa Mountain's greatest combat power. Cui Danshang, the incarnation of Cui Chang, was extremely intelligent, assisting Champion in managing the sect. Julian, with an unparalleled appearance, one of Lu Chen's 5 dreams, served as Luopa Mountain's chief steward, meticulous and wise. Zhongmili, the great water monster of Mute Lake, innocent and kind, was the mountain protecting elder of Luopa Mountain. There were also disciples like Chao Qinlan, Zhao Shuxia, and Guo Zhujiu, each with their own talents, each abiding by morality and justice. As the sect master of Luopa Mountain, Champion always upheld a people-oriented philosophy. He taught his disciples that cultivation was not for conquest, but for protection, that managing the sect was not for expansion, but to give cultivators of the world a place to cling to morality and justice. Luopa Mountain gradually became a benchmark in the Haren world. Countless cultivators came from far and wide, only to join this warm, rule-abiding, proud sect. Champion LED, the sword cultivation seeds of the Sword Chi Great Wall back to the Haren world. He chose a location, Antonia Continent, to build the Green Duckweed Sword sect, the lower sect of Luopa Mountain, inheriting the backbone of sword cultivators, guarding the peace of one land. He reunited with Ningyao. After countless hardships, they finally came together and married. The once orphan of Clay Vase Alley was now not only a revered great power in the world, but a happy man with a lover, a family, and disciples. He often returned to Clay Vase Alley, to that ramshackle hut. He touched the traces his mother had left, and thought of her words, peace every year. He finally understood. His lifelong perseverance, his lifelong cultivation, his lifelong battles, they were all for these 4 words. Not just his own peace, but the peace of all people in the world. He watched the smoke curl up from the cooking fires of Luopa Mountain, the disciples laughing and playing, the thousands of lantern-lit homes in the mortal world. His heart was filled with peace. He was no longer the orphan struggling in despair, no longer the hidden official fighting bloody battles on the battlefield. He was an ordinary man, guarding his home, his morality and justice, his warmth. At the end of the story, Champion set guard at Luopa Mountain, protecting the peace and tranquility of the Haren world. His martial cultivation base had reached the martial god realm. Though his sword cultivation realm had fallen, he was still one of the top great powers in the world. Yet he never bullied the weak with his strength, never interfered in worldly affairs. He only stepped forward when the world was in danger. With his life, he interpreted the true meaning of as heaven maintains vigor through movements, a gentleman should constantly strive for self-perfection. And he interpreted the true feeling of a great hero defends his country and his people. From the orphan of Clay Vase Alley to the last hidden official of the Sword Chi Great Wall. From the accountant of Book Sleep Lake to the sect master of Luopa Mountain. From a disaster star with broken natal porcelain to the backbone that guarded the world. Champion's life is an epic of cultivation tempered by gratitude and resentment, testified by human feelings. A legend of perseverance in despair, of growth in suffering. The sword in his hand can slay demons and subdue monsters, can protect all living beings. The Tao in his heart is the warmth of the mortal world, the morality and justice of the world, the eternal law of peace every year. The story of Sword Come is about cultivating immortality but more about the mortal world. It is about power but more about reason. It is about growth but more about perseverance. It tells us that birth does not matter, talent does not matter. What matters is whether you have a heart that clings to your original self. It tells us that power is not everything, reason is eternal. It tells us that even in the dark, we must keep our hearts toward the light. Even if the road ahead is rough, we must cling to the right path. And Champion is the best interpretation of this perseverance. His story will be forever passed down in the 5 worlds, becoming an immortal legend.